Hi everyone, my name is Shaurya Kohok and I'm a commercial pilot by profession. This video is in collaboration with the Job Byte, and in today's video I will be talking about the most frequently asked questions to me by aspiring pilots. The questions range from the basic eligibility criteria for becoming a pilot to the best flying schools in India to the cost of your training, type rating, so on and so forth. Also, I will be talking a little bit about my own journey in aviation and persistently pursuing my passion with the hope that it will inspire you to pursue yours. So, I'll start with my own journey first. I was someone who was always fascinated with flying and aviation since I was a kid. I remember always requesting the crew to let me see the cockpit and interact with the pilots after the plane had landed. And trust me, just simply being in the cockpit and talking with the pilots used to make me just so happy. Also, every time there was a pilot announcement in the flights, I always used to dream that, someday I will be the one making it. But the most inspiring and motivating thing for me was to see women pilots operating my flights or at the airports making such beautiful landings. And that was so inspiring, and that's when I decided that yes, even I can be this and I can do it, and that's how I decided to pursue flying. I decided to go for my flying training immediately after my college. I wanted to pursue it right after my 12th, but my father insisted on me in getting a degree first because aviation industry is really unpredictable. And me being the first pilot of my family, I was extremely cautious. With that said, I applied for the Indigo Cadet Pilot program immediately after my graduation. I went through their 3-phase selection process and I got selected into CAE Oxford Aviation Academy. So I did my ground school from NFTI Gondia, that is the National Flying Training Institute in Gondia, and then for my flying I went to CAE Oxford in Melbourne. Having said that, let's start with the questions now. The first question is, what is the qualifications and eligibility criteria for becoming a pilot? First, you must have a valid passport. For cadet programs, this is absolutely mandatory. Also, you must be an Indian national or hold an overseas citizenship of India. However, if you plan to do this from flying schools in India, then the passport is not mandatory. Secondly, you must score 51% or above in physics and maths in your 12th. However, if you did not have science in 11-12, you can always apply to the NIOS, that is National Institute of Open Schooling, for these subjects and score the minimums required. So the next question is, what is the minimum and maximum age to apply for flying schools or to get your CPL? So for cadet programs, the minimum age is 18 and maximum age is 32 years. However, if you decide to do your flying privately, the minimum age at which you can get your CPL is 18 and there is no maximum age mentioned. But however, the age at which the airlines induct first officers varies, and let me tell you that 30 plus airlines are a little reluctant. Question is, what is the height and weight requirements for becoming a commercial pilot? So there are no strict height requirements if you want to become a commercial pilot, as there are for Air Force pilots. You can become a pilot and get your CPL if you're short, because during your training you will be flying small aircrafts. However, if you're less than 5'2", you might get some issues with getting inducted with airlines because they prefer 5'2" and above. Regarding your weight, it's not the weight that matters but your BMI. So if your BMI exceeds normal limits because you're overweight, then some additional tests have to be run, and as an advice, I would suggest please anyway maintain your weight and your overall health, because flying is a profession where you'll always have your medicals, and a good BMI and a healthy lifestyle will always give you hassle-free medicals. What is cadet program, and is it even worth it if it's so expensive? So a cadet program is usually a tie-up between an airline and an academy in which the academy trains pilots according to the standards and requirements of that particular airline. Now, cadet programs are usually a little more expensive because your safety and your quality of training is absolutely assured. And is it worth it? Now, according to me, absolutely. Even though you're paying extra, but you have a job guarantee. That is, before you start your training, you sign a letter of intent with the airline where you already have a job with the airline. And we all know finding a job as a pilot in aviation is so important. People sit at home 2 to 5 years looking for a job and after investing so much of money. So yeah, even though according to me, cadet pilot programs are usually more expensive, a lot more expensive, but in the end you have that satisfaction that after all this is over, you do have a job. Next question is, what is the cost of flying training? Now, on a general basis, cadet programs are more expensive than doing your flying privately. Cadet programs range from 80 lakhs to 1 CR, including your type rating. But it's better that you check their websites because they give everything in detail correctly according to the current dollar rate. Now, if you plan to do your flying privately, it is going to be cheaper. You will get your CPL within 25 to 30 lakhs, but your type rating will not be included. And also, the private schools, they calculate the fees on an hourly basis of your flying. So that varies from flight school to flight school. So you can do your research, call them up, get to know about the rates. But again, don't just look at the cost because your safety and quality of training is more important. So the next question is, what is type rating? So by definition, a type rating is a regulating agency certification of an airplane pilot to fly a certain aircraft type that requires additional training beyond the scope of the initial license and aircraft class training. Pretty complex, right? Let me explain this to you in a layman's language. So when you get your CPL, you're authorized to fly multi-engine aircraft. Now, these aircrafts are below a certain weight. But when you want to fly for an airline, you have these jumbo jets and jets like the A320 or the Boeing 737, which are extremely different and complex in their operations. So to get more advanced in that training, you need your type rating. So a type rating for an A320 is going to be different. A type rating for Boeing 737 is going to be different. A350 will be different. 787 or 777 will be different. So whenever you want to change from one aircraft to other, these big jet aircrafts, you need type rating. What is the cost of type rating? Now, it depends on where you do your type rating from. Currently, if you do your type rating from India, it will be more expensive than if you do it abroad. In abroad, you can finish your type rating from 11 to 17 lakhs. Whereas if you do it from the cadet program, the cost may go up to 25 lakhs. How to get into a flight school. After you've met the above mentioned requirements and you're done with your DGCA Class 1 and Class 2 medicals, which is something I recommend doing first, now you can start applying to flight schools. So I'll be talking about two cases here. First is if you want to get through the cadet pilot programs, and case 2 is if you want to do your flying privately from any flying school in India. So we'll start with case 1. If you want to get into a cadet pilot program, usually there are 3 selection phases and there are also the elimination phases. So first one is your written exam, which consists of your basic knowledge of English, physics and maths from your 11th and 12th. Second is generally your aptitude test. For CAE, it's called CAS. That's what I gave. And the third selection phase and elimination phase is the group activity and group interview with the airline panelists. Now let's talk about case 2, that is doing privately from any flying school in India. So currently in India, except NFTI and except IGRUA, no other flying school takes any entrance exam. So if you meet the above requirements, you're good to go. Question is, can a candidate with a weak eyesight become a pilot? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can become a pilot if you have weak eyesight because you're allowed to use glasses or lenses, whatever you're comfortable with. But when you use your glasses or your lenses, you must have 6x6 vision. However, if you have color blindness, you'll be straight away rejected in your medicals. Next question is, what are some good flying schools in India? So for cadet pilot programs, Indigo has a tie-up with number of academies like CAE, the domestic pathway, FTA based in Adelaide, CTC based in New Zealand, Skyborne Airline Academy based in the US, and Flight Rule Aviation Services based in the New Zealand. Now, some Indian flying schools that you can apply to are IGRUA, that is the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy, FSTC, MPFC, Bombay Flying Club in Dhule and not the one in Juhu, and Patiala Flying Club. You can find more lists if you do some research, but these are the famous flying schools in India currently. So the next question is, what is the course duration? Now, if you're applying through cadet programs, I recommend you checking their websites because they usually give a very detailed outline of your course duration right from the ground school to your flying training, and it is usually between 18 to 24 months. So that's what I did. I checked their websites before applying for it. If you decide to do your flying privately from any flying school in India, then the pace absolutely depends on you. That is how quickly you're able to clear your DGCA papers and how quickly you're able to finish your flying, which of course depends on a lot of factors like weather, the slot availability in your flying school, etc. This brings us to our last question. What is the salary of a pilot? Now, a salary of a junior first officer can vary between 50 to 90,000 depending from airline to airline. Then after you clear your further checks and you release as a first officer, your salary can go up to 2 lakhs. And after, with more experience, when you become a senior first officer, your salary increases with your experience. Later on, when you clear your ATPL papers and your airline interview and you're promoted as a captain, your salary drastically increases. But that also depends from airline to airline.